Welcome to the Chamber Connection. I'm Pam Roman. I'm the director of the Chamber of Commerce over in Clay County. Have been for the last 8 years and still loving every minute of it. I want to first say thanks to Windstream Channel 4 for hosting this program. This is one of the best ways to get all of our information of the local activities out to the public. Today, my first guest is going to be Carol Moffit. And Carol, let's talk about Hayesville just for a minute.
Let's do.
Yeah, it's a very iconic Norman Rockwell, Mayberry kind of mixture type of town.
It is, Pam. It's just teeming with vitality right now, and it's just bursting with a lot of going on.
I feel like we're the little engine that's chugging uphill, and we're just about to the top.
We are just about at the top.
Just about made it. All sorts of new establishments have come into the area lately. The downtown is vibrant. You can't find a place to park anymore after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, used to it was a ghost town rolled up.
I had to purchase some space behind my building in order to help provide that parking for the future.
And I think that's great. So if you haven't been downtown Hayesville lately, you need to make a tour down there. We're having a showcase of the windows. There's a big contest going on. So we need your vote. What you'll do is pick up the tickets, the voting tickets from Carol's establishment of Molly and me, and the other ones that are around the square. Bring them to the chamber. You'll vote on them. You'll put them in a locked box. I mean, it's sealed up. And so it's going to be fun. It's a very Christmassy atmosphere. The lights on the square. So what's your favorite part of downtown?
Well, Hayesville really is like Mayberry. I mean, even the mail lady comes in our store, picks up our mail, drops off our mail, and goes out the side door. Where in America nowadays does that happen?
And she stops to talk to you,
yes,
too.
she does. We know her name, Sharon, and it's just, that and, the leadership in Hayesville is extraordinary. And also the volunteers. I mean, the combination of the volunteers that we have in Hayesville and what they do to make this town come alive and make it happen is really exceptional.
Harry, our mayor, he's been on several times, and he has just been fantastic about bringing us up to date on things. And there's more new things coming, so stay tuned because Hayesville has not started yet. We are just at the beginning. So Carol, tell me this. You're the proprietor of Molly and Me, one of the cutest, best laid out antique stores I have ever been in.
Thank you, Pam.
I really do love it. I don't get by enough because we're busy, but when my downtime comes, I really love spending time in there just looking at all the different things. What brought you here to Clay County?
Well, my family was, on my paternal side, on my father's side, was from Brasstown, Murphy, and Hiawassee.
Oh, my goodness.
The Stalkups in Martins Creek, Brasstown were my family on my paternal side. So my parents had retired to Hiawassee. We were raised in Atlanta, my family, my sister and my brother and I. And my parents retired to Hiawassee in the 70s. And we used to come back here for Christmas and summer vacations, all of those years. And then even when we were little, we would come up here and visit before my parents retired, and we were able to come back and visit with them.
Right.
And we bought my husband and I bought some property in Tusquity in the late 1990s, and eventually built a little home there that we love and enjoy. So I always felt a kindredship to this mountain area, and Hayesville in particular, Clay County in particular.
There are some people that it resonates with, and you get the feel and everything.
Yes.
And I've actually had people, though, that moved back to Florida, some of my friends, because, believe it or not, they said there wasn't enough activity going on.
Right.
And
well, I think with people, different areas call to different people.
Yes.
And you have to listen to that calling. And for me and my family, it was the North Georgia, Western North Carolina mountainous area that called to me. And so I'm here and very happy to be a part of this.
Well, how did you start Molly and Me? Where did that come from?
Well, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, I was the one who sold lemonade, and my dad was in the trucking business, and when they would have a truck that went awry and they would have spoiled, what they call spoiled goods, but they really weren't. They were all kinds of things. I would take those things and sell them door to door. So anything, and the neighbors probably got very tired of seeing me come up to their door and trying to sell something.
It is a perfect place. If you haven't been in this charming store, it is, she's just molded it to what it should have been. I mean, and you feel like you're back in the ages in some of the areas because of the furniture being antique.
It's a real mixture of,
Yes.
Of antique furniture and vintage furniture and furniture that's carefully curated or selected on the secondary market, if you will. And then we also have a wide variety of art and lamps, hand-knotted rugs, and we have glassware. We have someone who brings our glassware in, and it's just beautiful. We have jewelry. We have assorted pottery. So it's really kind of a store that I feel like kind of expresses my entrepreneurial spirit and the fact that I've had the good fortune of traveling a good bit. And so I think the store kind of represents that, or I like to think it does, has a variety of interesting and unique things that
What's
that
the
we
most
kind of bring
unique thing you've seen there that you've
wow,
had in
that's
your
a good
store?
question, Pam. One of the most unusual things we've had in the store 2 weeks ago was a banjolele. So you just don't find those very often. It's
don't even
unusual.
hear it.
No, you don't. I didn't even know what it was until my husband, who's musically oriented, said, you know, this is something you ought to consider for the store. And then the other thing was now we currently have a balalaika, which was, you know, I think more of a Russian instrument. You know,
Musical
a
instrument.
musical
Yeah.
instrument, just unusual. Yeah.
And the people bring these things into you that, you know.
They do. We curate them. We have about a dozen different sources, Pam.
Okay.
And you know, sometimes and people do call us and come see us on a regular basis, you know, that have things to sell, and we have a certain way that we like to tell them to send images to us to our email, and then and to let us know what they want for things.
Good way.
Yeah, it works. If
rather
they,
than having them lug everything in.
Oh
and then,
yeah, that's way too much. But if they send us their items through email and then let us know what they want for them, then we can go through the items that they're interested in selling and consider those and try to put something together.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
And then outside of that, we have about a dozen different sources that we rely on steadily. I've been working with one guy that is south of us, and working with him for 12 years, and so he is a picker. And right, so we pick from the picker.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I've been working with him for a number of years, and it's a lot of fun. So he's great to work with.
We got an email from the American Pickers a couple of months ago
Did
that they
you?
were coming through the area.
Oh wow!
And they wanted to know if there was any outside places that, you know,
Right.
barns and things that
Right.
they could go to. We kind of scoured around, but the only barns we came up with had people with guns that, you know, wouldn't let you come on their
Wouldn't
property.
let you, right. We're very familiar with that, yes.
Around this area.
Yes.
So we're how long have you been? You've been there 10 years.
I'm in my 10th year, and we own the building. We've owned the building for 7 years. And
I remember when you first opened
know.
up, because it was before I came on board with the chamber.
Yeah, just about that time.
We were so excited to see
Oh,
this.
thanks.
And we were starting our house at the time. Well, we were finishing up building it. So I was adding antiques to it, but then I kind of overdid it.
Well, that happens sometimes.
So now it's, and so you're married.
Yes.
Children?
Yes, Bob and I have been married for 7 years, and we have one son, Miles, and he is at UNC Charlotte working on his PhD in industrial psychology. And don't ask me what that is. Only these younger people can tell you about
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's not like
he's
what we used to go to college for.
No, you had 5 subjects. That's it.
Yeah.
Now you have many more than that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so will he maybe be joining y'all here in this little area, or is he looking for
loves
more of the
it.
big
When
town?
when we lived in California and he was young, he would say to us, why can't, I mean, he was 3 and 4 years old, and he would say, why can't we all live in Hiawassee together and Hayesville together? He wanted to be back here. So he actually went to Young Harris College. He was a California born and raised young man who came back here and went to Young Harris, and had it been 4 years at the time, he would have gone there 4 years. Yeah, he loved it.
That's
Absolutely
good to hear.
loved
That
it.
is really wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how much the town appreciates your store being there.
Thank you,
If you
Pam.
have not been to this store, you have got to come visit. Carol is, I mean, it's going to amaze you, but be sure that you eke out about 2 hours because it does for you to be able to see everything in the store. It's amazing. So I want to thank Carol for being here and for being downtown on the square and for being part of the chamber. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much, Pam. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Well, now we're going to take a quick break and then we'll return. We're going to be talking to Brenda Kay Ledford and we'll let you know all about what Brenda Kay does when we get back on our after our little vacation here. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to the Chamber Connection. Once again, this is Pam Roman with the Clay County Chamber of Commerce. Been the director there for about 8 years. And we want to thank once again Windstream Channel 4 for providing this outlet for the Chamber of Commerce's so we can get all of our activities out there to all of the people. Speaking of activities in Clay County, everyone knows where the Peacock Performing Arts Center is. It's down there off of Church Street. But on December 22nd, we are going to be having It's a Wonderful Life. It's their Christmas show of the year. If you want tickets, I guarantee you need to call now because it will be sold out as soon as the tickets go on sale. And I believe they go on sale this week. So call, make sure you get your reservation. You can call at 828-389-2787, and you can charge over the phone. Two of the other events that are coming up, they are chamber members of ours over in Franklin, Smoky Mountain Center for the Performing Arts also. And on December 18th is A Christmas Together. This is an evening of stories, songs, and family. And then another one on December 21st is Sierra Hull, and it's a bluegrass Christmas. Now, if you want any tickets for those, you need to call over at the Franklin Performing Arts Center. Their local number is 828-524-1598. Be sure to call there to get your reservations for those. And if you're downtown on the square, please come by and see the newly renovated historic courthouse. It is beautiful. There is just no words to describe this building, what they have done to it. They're giving tours. It's open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4. And if you go through it, our guest that was on earlier, Carol, and you look at all the antiques that are throughout the building, those are mostly from her shop. So take a close notice of all that, and hopefully we'll see you down there on the square taking pictures at the gazebo for your family and having a lot of fun. Right now, I have a wonderful, wonderful friend, Brenda Kay Ledford, who we all adore. You want to talk about iconic. This woman is Hayesville. She is Clay County. And you have been honored quite a few times, not just once, I know that, for your poetry books. Your newest one is Red Plank House, and I've read all the way through, honest, I have. When you stopped by the office that day, I shut my door afterwards and I sat there and I read. And all your other books I had bought and given to my mother because she loved poetry. And it was just something that she could identify with, and she loved it up until the day she passed. So I want to thank you, but I'd like to introduce to you Brenda Kay Ledford. If you don't know her, you will in a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Pam. I really appreciate your letting me come today and share a few words about my new poetry book. And we appreciate the excellent job you are doing in promoting Clay County. You're doing a wonderful job, Pam, and thank you so very much.
I paid her to say that. Thank you. That's sweet of you. Well, tell us about your new book. I'm excited.
Well, Pam, the title of my book, of course, is Red Plank House. And on the front cover is a photograph of our old house. Oh. This old home place was built in about 1942, and this is where I grew up. I'm a native of Clay County, North Carolina. I have a lot of wonderful memories about growing up in this little house, and a lot of my poems are about Clay County, my native hometown, about our heritage, our Southern Appalachian heritage, and about how wonderful a place that we have. I mean, we're living right here in the most beautiful place on planet Earth, and I love to get up first thing of the morning and look at the sun rising over the mountains. This morning we had such an awesome sunrise, and that's a lot of ways that I get inspiration to write. A lot of my writing is about nature, about our heritage, about our culture, and we're just so blessed to live in this beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains.
I totally agree. I get up every morning and I look out and I think, I could not imagine being any other place in this world. I'm sure there's other places in the world that are beautiful and pretty, but this has it's got all of our heartbeats. There's just something about it that we love. And it's people like you that make the town what it is. It really, you're an added gem to the county. You really are. Did you happen to see the double rainbow a couple of weeks ago?
It was absolutely awesome, Pam. I just accidentally looked out the window and saw it before it faded away. I grabbed my camera. I tried to take a photograph of it, but it was it just stretched so far, the arch did, I couldn't get all of it in. But then later on, I was able to write a poem about the rainbow. And you know, ideas are all around us, Pam. It's like moments like this, maybe not at that particular moment, I will write a poem, but later on it will come to memory and I will write a poem about it. And the other evening, my mother and I were sitting in the kitchen, and at the top of a poplar tree was a raccoon. And I said, "Oh, look at that little raccoon." And there it was trying to climb down the tree, and Mother and I, we were shouting like at a ball game, "Come on, little possum, come on, don't fall, come on, get down." And then it just slid down the tree trunk. And I thought, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. And later on, I wrote a poem about the little raccoon coming down the tree trunk. That's how we as writers do. We learn to be observant.
Yes.
We observe people and places and things. Maybe not at that particular point we will write a poem, but later on it will come to us. And so this book here, Red Plank House, I was so blessed to have it endorsed by some wonderful people. First of all, Evan Miller, who is the senior editor of Guidepost magazine.
Okay, yeah.
He had endorsed this. And I think he best summarizes the book. He says, "Reading these poems, I couldn't help but feel as if I too had transported to Shoebird Mountain, a place of majestic beauty, of tumbling waterfalls, patchwork quilts, mountain ministers, and apple orchards. I heartily recommend that you take a place and a stroll there too."
Oh, that's amazing.
Evan, now he lives up there in New York City, but by reading my poems, he was transported to the beautiful mountains and he felt an urge to come. There's something magical about living here in the mountains, I believe. It may be our spiritual heritage because my father was a Baptist minister, my grandfather was a Baptist minister, my great-grandfather was a Baptist minister. This is part of my heritage, and I have included this also in my poetry about the old-time mountain preachers. My great-great-grandfather was a Methodist circuit rider. He would ride across the mountains on a horse and come and carry the gospel to the churches, the little country churches. All of this is part of my heritage, and it's so dear to my heart to share with people what a rich heritage we have here in Clay County, North Carolina.
You are so right on spot. I wish my parents had discovered this area and I grew up here. I feel like this is home. You know, I was a 5th generation Floridian and I'm the only one that's escaped. But I feel more home here than I do in Florida. And it's what you talk about, looking at all the experiences and seeing the simple life instead of the rushing and the hollering and the, you know, this is beautiful in here. And every time I wake up, I thank God that somehow He brought me here. Not quick enough, but, you know, on His time, so.
Another thing I want to mention, Pam, that I am so pleased to see is happening in downtown Hayesville. Mrs. Reba Beck and some other volunteers are doing those quilt blocks.
Yes.
And you will see on different businesses those awesome quilt blocks. It is just so beautiful what they are doing with decorating our buildings with the quilt squares, and then different people are doing it on their houses and barns.
Yeah.
It's the quilting trail, and I am just so happy to see that our heritage is being preserved through the quilts. Now here's a poem I'd like to share with you.
Yes, please.
It's about this quilt project, and it's called Barn Quilts. Winding through Appalachia, quilt blocks painted on the old red barns, a legacy of love. Pioneer women pieced the patterns around the quilting bee. Hours of labor, feed sacks ripped up, treasure scraps reused. Folk art reborn out of necessity, beauty in handiwork. Gracing the barn walls, a Lone Star quilt, and the double wedding ring.
That's beautiful. You know what, when you read it, when I read it, it sounds one way, it sounds beautiful, but when you read it, it really sounds real then. At that point, I picture everything.
I grew up with my mother quilting. She had an old quilt box, and she had the old scraps in there. And I would watch her as she would piece those quilts together. And my grandmother, that's a legacy from the Appalachian women of quilting.
That is true. Now the chamber has we have the head of the navigational point on the chamber building. We chose that as the point to begin your adventure here in the county. And John and Bev brought that to our attention. That's what they felt we should have. And you're right, everybody has just jumped on board with this. And it's just really made a beautiful quilt trail for people to just follow. And I think they're making a legacy of each one of them so that you could read what it's about and why it's there and the business that it's on. Yeah, it's one of those things that we just enjoy and we love having here, and I'm so glad it happened.
Absolutely. And you know, I want to mention Miss Sandy Zimmerman and her historic building down there. Now, she's doing a great job in helping to preserve our history of this region. It's an awesome place to go through if you have an opportunity. And of course, the old jail museum up there.
Goodness.
Oh, I tell you, it is awesome what the Arts Council is doing to help preserve our heritage. And last but definitely not least, our beautiful historic courthouse, how they have restored it. I am so happy that the people, volunteers, and so many committees have gotten together and have renovated the old courthouse. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and it just shows that the people of Clay County have a heart for preserving our heritage and for keeping our culture alive. And I think it's just a wonderful thing that this is happening.
I agree, and I'm so glad that you put it so eloquently. You put it much better than I could have, and hopefully you will be able to come on down to Clay County, come over, just come across the bridge if you're over here in Hiawassee, and come see us, because I guarantee you, you'll love it. You'll fall in love with the whole feeling that you get when you're down on the square. Thank you so much for tuning in, and Brenda, thank you so much for being with us again, and we'll have you back. Keep in touch with the Chamber, because we'll be doing a poetry night down at the Chamber sometime after in 2019, probably in January. So thank you so much, Windstream Channel 4, for producing this Chamber Connection. And this is the Clay County Chamber of Commerce signing off until next month.